Just to let you know, Dave Caldwell, that these allegations are not going to go away. This is just the beginning. So I think you need to come out and do an interview. I mean, any other time we can't get you off IFL, Behind the Gloves, Seconds Out, Boxing Social, Fight Hype. We can't get you off YouTube. So you need to come out and answer these allegations. You're more than welcome to come on Porky's Corner. You can do it by Zoom. You don't have to do it in your gym. You can do it by Zoom. And I'll ask you these questions from these lads. Alright? And then once you've answered them, then I'm going to play a card that I've got up my sleeve and put this to bed. Alright? So come out, wherever you are. Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How are you doing? It's Harry the Spastic here, live from South Yorkshire. In bed, 8:30 in the morning. I just want to say before I start that I think I mentioned yesterday that somebody sent me something that Chris Eubanks got COVID, and I think it might have been a scam. See, that's what happens sometimes. People put false information out, and I did say if it's true, he's not going to fight that kid next, but apparently it ain't true. But it might be, you don't know as things unravel. But anyway, today I'm joined by Kent. How you doing, Kent? You all right, mate?
How you doing, Russell? How you keeping, mate?
Well, I'm trying my best, kid. Trying my best. Stuck in this prison.
You've been putting out some marathon videos the last few days. You've been putting, the content's been great.
Yeah, bored to death. So yeah, but I had to make up another 14 or 15 videos from October for members on YouTube. So they'll get 45 videos this month. So another 10 after this, and we're in the home straight now for November, aren't we?
Yeah. Brilliant to see, Russell. And I'm sure everybody's enjoying it in the channel that watches. And I see that the subscriptions went up as well, which is brilliant. So onwards and upwards.
Been going 4 years today.
Is it birthday?
4 years for the channel. I went yesterday, November 16th. Yeah, 16th yesterday.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Right, then we'll crack on. First off, I want to go in on Mick Ennis's show. What did you think about it?
To be honest, I've been thinking about this the last couple of days, Russell. So I'm gonna. Who is the only promoter in the UK to work on all terrestrial TV channels? I'm talking about BBC, ITV, and Channel 5.
Mick.
Yep. You know, we look back a couple of years ago, and Mick didn't really have much of a stable, to be honest. And you look what he's built now. I think it's absolutely remarkable. You know, Mick's a survivor in boxing. He is a true. I know everyone talks about Frank Warren and all, and Mick's a real survivor. You know, he's had, what is it, 20 years he's been promoting. He's had 103 shows, and I've actually been to 3 of his shows. He brought Tyson Fury over here, and they had 3 really, really good shows. And I think that show the other night on Channel 5 is we've spoke about matchmaking, and I think you've done a video once on how to build a show. That show is the template on how to build a show, and I thought it was really, really good. You know, the production's a lot better. They've got Steve Bunsen. The commentating's really, really good. The cameras are as good as DAZN, if not better. And it was actually a show that people had actually sold tickets for, because it was a really, really vibrant show. And another thing I liked about it, Russell, is I grew up watching boxing. And the thing that I loved about watching boxing at the time, I liked looking around ringside to see who was sitting there. And now you don't really see anybody sitting at ringside of note. And the other night I noticed Peter was there, Hugh was there, Sam Egrington was there. So you've actually got boxers, his own boxers, coming to support his own shows. which was really good. I thought the show was good. It just seemed like a proper boxing event, Russell.
11 fights.
Brilliant. You know, he's building something good there. You know, he's got that. Firstly, you know, the main event was a really good fight. You know, Reece Cartwright. You know, he's only back from a couple year layoff. It's good to see him back. You know, he's went through, you know, a bit of trouble, they said, on you know, his own personal troubles, and it's good to see him back. He jumped up from middleweight up to light heavyweight, the fight Shaq Peters. I thought it was a really good fight, Russell. Really good fight.
Yeah.
What did you think about it?
I thought it was a good fight. I like Shaq and Peters. Yeah, I thought it was a good fight. What did you think of Tyler Dennis fight?
What's that? Sorry, Russ. A brilliant fight. Absolutely. Listen, that's the type of fight you want to see. That both lads don't like each other. You know, they didn't like each other before the fight. Yeah.
Tyler Denny fight.
Revo Wilson Bent.
Oh.
Revo Wilson Bent. He was the attraction of the show. You know, he's I think 11-0. He was like an area champion before that. He's a good story. He's a roofer. You know, he can punch a bit. I thought it was a really, really good fight. Excellent fight. That's at that level. You know, you've got a lad that's 10-0 and you got a lad 16-2. That's a really, really good domestic level fight. You know, it wasn't for an intercontinental. It wasn't for a trinket. It was for an English title. So it shows they're actually trying to go up that domestic level. I thought it was a brilliant fight. I thought the end of it was obviously you don't want to see a draw in any fight, but it was a really, really good fight, Russell.
What's Shaq and Peters? He's had about 18 fights now, hasn't he?
Shaq I think he's 17-1 now. That was his third win back from the Craig Richards loss, but that shows you that he's actually being promoted and managed properly. You know, if that was another fighter at another promotion, they would be probably sitting dormant now, waiting to their next chance. He's had 3 wins. And now he has a WBC international. So that's a rating. That's a top 15 rating in the WBC, Russell.
Mick Hennessy is a well-connected bloke with WBC.
Well, I was looking last night. So you've got Isaac Chamberlain, who's now top 20 in the WBC Bridgerweight. You've got Sam Eggerton, who is top 10 now in WBC ratings as well. So that's absolutely brilliant, Russell. That's really, really good. That's really good management and really, really good promotion.
Yeah, he'll get him a ranking now, mate, because he'll lobby with WBC for Shaq and Pete.
You know, it just goes to show you, you know, a loss at top level doesn't destroy your career. You know, Shaq Peters had a loss to a guy that went on and fought for a world title his next fight and probably could have won if he had forced it a bit better. So it just goes to show a loss at that level, at any level, doesn't destroy a boxer's career. You know, see all this 25-0 and I know is really important. I know doesn't really mean, for me at that level, if you've no O's, it means you haven't really went up the levels. So it's really good promotion from Mick. You know, I look at the names that Mick's promoted. So you've got Junior Witter world champion, Kid Galahad's won a world title, Tyson Fury, Clark Fratch, Eubank Jr., Darren Barker, James DeGale, and Savannah Marshall. They're all fighters that went on and won world titles, and we're all with Mick. It speaks for itself, Russell. It really speaks for itself.
None of them were at none of them went to Olympics.
Yeah, none of them went. Well, James DeGale went to the Olympics.
Yeah, won a gold, didn't he? Yeah, sorry, yeah.
De Gale went to the Olympics, but it just goes to show you. And
he didn't have him from debut, De Gale, did he?
De Gale was with Frank Warren first, but after the George Groves loss, Frank let him go. So it was really in no man's land, and
Are you
he
sure
went in with Mick.
Did he come back and fight for a European, De Gale, after that loss, or did he fight with Frank for one more?
I'm not 100% sure, but after the contract, he let him go. He let him go after that. I'm not sure.
I could have sworn he had one more fight with Warren, and then went. I could be wrong because it's a long time ago, isn't it?
But he managed to build him back up and get him into position, and get him. And look what he done for Kid Galahad. You know, Kid Galahad was facing a lengthy drugs ban, and Mick went and lobbied for him, got him a deal, and he went and left him straight after it. So, yeah, Mick's a brilliant promoter, and we all look at the minute now, and boxing, there's so many. Everyone's a great promoter and everyone's a great manager, and Mick has got some really good fighters on his card. You know,
do you feel, Kent, that too many people who want to be managers and promoters feel like they have to get on platforms and just talk bollocks all day and do interviews and work the room instead of just getting on with it? Because Mick Ennis is not one of them types, is he? He's like an Al Heyman type. He's like a background man, isn't he?
I'm Peter Fury, and don't forget to subscribe to Porky's Corner, because I've been a helmet of the month and you need to listen to me. Yeah? So follow him, yeah? And get the fella some followers up, for Christ's sake. He wears his heart on his sleeve, he's a good man, Russ. So follow Porky's Corner, he says it as it is, and you know, I appreciate the helmet of the month, Russ. No problem.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Yeah, he's like a ghost. You're right, Russell, on what you say, because everyone's on, I'm a great manager, this is that. Well, I was told, I used to help a pro fighter, and I remember one day he told me about, he was sparring with these kids from Donegal, brothers, and that's the McKennas, and that was about 4 years ago. And they had been all over America, they'd been sparring, they'd been living in cars and motels and hotels that basically make it in America, and nobody in UK or Ireland, you know, knew about them. And Mick has signed Aaron and Stephen McKenna. They are world level prospects, Russell. And you know, if all these people are such great promoters and managers, how could they let fighters and prospects fall through their fingers like that?
I don't know, but looking at Mick's show, if you look at the opponents, there are only 5 the losing records out of 11, weren't there? You know, the opponents.
Yeah.
You look at other people's shows and shocking.
You had the McKenna brothers. You know, one of the lads actually pulled out, but he still got him a decent opponent that actually fought back. And you had, I think it was Stephen fought that lad from that boy from the Commonwealth, who was like 31 and 4. That's a really good opposite. Not that he was a great opponent in the ring, but if you look down the record, that's a really good step up for him. And to find someone like that and to bring that over, it's really good management. And even for TV, you know, casual fans are going to sit, you know, if they've seen these lads coming through, it's going to get to a stage where people are going, he's fighting another guy with a losing record. That's not the case. So yeah, the matchmaking on the card was very, very good, really good. And I look at those 2 lads now, Russell, and I see world level talent, world level prospects. You know, you could have a work in progress and working prospect. These lads are world level.
Yeah. DC Huey going back to work, going on Channel 5 if it didn't work out with Sky.
I I think the arrangement. I think Peter works with Mick. I think there's some sort of arrangement there. They've got a good business relationship, and they've always been loyal to each other. So
Very close friends. Very good friendship.
you know, they're good boxing people. So I don't think it would be a problem down the line if it didn't work out at Sky, that you know, we could be back on terrestrial TV. But it all depends, Russell, on how how Sky rebuild Hughie. You know, if they're just going to go fight by fight basis, I don't think that's really a good enough business plan for a fighter. I think you need to have a roadmap on how to build a fighter's career. I think Mick, you know, you look at Sam Agriton, you know, he was on his own after the Cheeseman win. You know, it was lost, sorry, and it looked like he was going nowhere. And now he's beat Ashley Thurpin. He beat a former world champion, and he had that brilliant fight in his last fight, and he's in, you know, world rankings now. So that for me is a brilliant blueprint and how to get someone in the position again, especially after a loss. I think it's really good management.
Yeah. Well, we wish Mick Hennessy well. But Mick's not one of them guys, is he? Like Eddie Hearn, who's in love with himself, is he? And wants to make it about him all the time, coming out with his cheeky Nando lines, apples and pears and all that, and go on, my son, all that. He don't do lots of interviews, but like I said, doing lots of interviews don't make you a great promoter. Al Heyman's putting best shows on at the moment, isn't he, on Showtime, and you don't get a P card of him, do you?
No, it's you're right. You know, you look at the fighters that Mick's promoted over the years and the type of cards he puts on, trade cards, proper fights. I think Russell, now people are absolute. I'm sick to death of the apples and pears and the cheeky Nando's, Eddie. That's done. You know, when Eddie's doing them interviews and behaving and being this and that, you know, this is the guy that said that Fury and Joshua was going to be announced every day of the summer. You know, what big fight has Eddie actually made in this last couple of years?
It made Canelo Saunders.
Was that really a big fight?
Well, unification, wasn't it?
It was a big fight, but you know, it wasn't. I wouldn't class it as a mega fight.
You mean because Saunders ain't got a signature win?
Yeah.
They're looking to put John Ryder in with Canelo now, aren't they, in UK, according to Gobshite?
I wouldn't mind that. I'm a big fan of John Ryder. I think he's went up. You know, he's fought everyone he's needed to fight. You know, he's hasn't ducked anybody. And if there's somebody in the UK that would get a shot at Canelo, I wouldn't begrudge him off it. I think he's a brilliant fighter.
Yeah. All right, then. What do you think about Joshua Buatsi pulling out this fight with a hand injury?
I think now that the patience that boxing fans are we've been told this narrative for the last 3 years about this world class best coming out of the Olympics, this super prospect. He's fought absolutely nobody in his career of note, and there's guys actually coming through and fighting for world titles before him. I'm not interested. I don't think I'm going to watch Buatsi now until he's actually in a world title fight, a real world title fight.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah. Do you feel that Buatsi will ever get there?
I think he will get there eventually. I think the way Eddie works at the minute, it's everything's down through the WBA, and he has fight options on Bivol. So I think they're just waiting for Bivol to kind of slow down a bit and get a bit older. And Bivol hasn't really I don't think Bivol's knocked anybody out in his last 3 fights or something like that. So I think they're looking at that. and I think they're going to get him down that level. But I'm not interested in Boatsy at the minute. I would rather watch. I know Lyndon Arthur isn't everyone's cup of tea, like, but I would actually rather watch, Lyndon Arthur. I would rather watch Callum Johnson. I would rather watch, the other lads at light heavyweight are actually fighting each other rather than Boatsy, because he hasn't really fought anybody, to be honest. And I'm sick of hearing the same story. If he's that good, they should have put him in for a world title after 8 or 9 fights, 10 fights. So I'm just sick of hearing it all the time now, Russell, to be honest. If he's going to fight for a world title, it has to be next.
Yeah. What do you think to the show at the weekend and the Matchroom? What did you think to the Matchroom show?
Where do you want me to start, Russell?
I don't know. I think that you're probably best, because I've said my bit on it now. So we'll start at the beginning, I suppose. I mean, start at the beginning. I mean, there were 2,500 people there. It's now been confirmed, but Eddie Hearn's saying there were 3,500, but there were 2,550 people in the building. So why does he always have to hype it up and put another 1,000 on? I don't know. There were 2,300. Hang on a sec. There were 2,300 tickets sold, and there were 250 that turned up on the night. So why is he saying there were 3,500 there? He always has to lie, doesn't he? Really grates me. It does that. Now, for all you Max fans, here's the man himself training for his next fight. We can rebuild him. We have the technology.
They're numbers people, accountants by name, accountants by nature. I thought the card wasn't great, to be honest. I actually paused it and watched Mick's show, because Mick's show was better. It had a better card, it had a better structure to it.
Oh, I bet you were in turmoil, Kent, weren't you?
It was like
sat there in your cronk top, flicking through. I bet you had both tellies on at the same time, didn't you?
Near enough. And one of my mates, Andrew Davison, texts me, and he texts me about Kiko getting knocked out, and I'm like, I've just stayed off social media all night. You just sent me a message here and ruined it. Oh my word! But yeah, I was in turmoil, absolutely turmoil. You look at the card, right, and you've got Galahad Martinez, Chris Smith, Bogon, Terry Harper, Baumgardner, James Flint, Hunt, Dante Dixon, Jordan McCorry. But the person that actually got most of the media after it was Dave Allen's fighter, Stevie Levy. That says it all.
Well, she's not frightened to get sent out there, so good luck to her.
It just goes to show you had 2 world champions, a European title fight, and most of the attention after the fight went to the young girl. And I think she's really fresh. I think she's a great wee personality in boxing. I think it's good to see somebody else come through that, has a bit of a personality and a bit of a story, and I hope she does well. But that just goes to show, is there any real stars left in Matchroom?
Scraping barrel now, aren't they? And no offense, but Stevie Lee, they're all gonna have her down as like a Dave Allen type, aren't they? A female Dave Allen, a bit quirky and a bit out there, and they're going down IFL route with Cougar nowadays, mate. And if that's boxing, so be it. We have to embrace it, don't we? But she's getting in ring, so she has to be given respect. But when you've seen the Shannon Courtney carry on and all these other ones, So why can't Stevie have a chance?
Absolutely. You know, she seems like a nice enough girl, you know, single mother. She's been a DJ. You know, I think she had personal problems coming up. There was stuff said about her mum and dad and stuff and all. That's a good story. That's somebody that I would actually believe.
Yeah,
That's a story that
but what you've got to understand is we have to get a balance right. Do we have, oh, it's a great story with what were it, Shannon Courtney? Oh, she had weight problems and drinking and drugs and all that and whatever else she were doing. And now this other one, and she's a one parent and living wherever in some part of whatever England and not had much in life and all that. But at the end of the day, it's about the fights, isn't it? Can she fight,
yeah.
or is she shite?
Well, do you know what? I thought she was okay.
Yeah.
I think she's a bit to learn. She's 5-0 now, which is good. She's a work in progress. I hope she does well. She seems to want to do it. She seems to want to put the work in, and fair play to her. She got most of, on the Matchroom YouTube channel, she actually got most of the views on all the like interviews and stuff like that there.
Let me just stop you there, Ken, right? Dave Allen got views, 12 million for putting a pair of socks down his bollocks at a weigh-in when he fought David Howe, but he hadn't won a belt. We don't want boxing to turn into a fucking circus, do we? Mind all this, they do views. Is it going down the fucking circus route with this Stevie? Yes or no?
I think they're going to create a character.
Well, it looks like she's going to go deal with Matchroom from what I'm hearing, so good.
But you look at the card, you know, I looked at a card last night in Sheffield, and Terry and yourself have been talking about Sheffield. That it was this great steel. You look at the card, the Full Monty card. Remember that?
I was there
back in the day. Unbelievable card. Like Sheffield at that time, you had Nas, you know, packing out, you know, Sheffield and all, and Ryan Rhodes, and I know Johnny Nelson never sold a ticket, so he was always a supporting act. But the crowd there was nobody there. There was nobody there, and I think when you've got that demographic of a big city like Sheffield, and there's only X amount of thousand there in a big arena, that's really, really worrying for boxing, Russell. Really worrying.
It's very worrying, but you've got Dennis putting shows on up there now, so people can't afford to go to both, can they?
Yeah, you're correct. And even look at Frank Warren's card on the Friday night in London. Like, I've never seen Bethnal Green as empty as that card the other night. That was, nobody was at that. Absolutely nobody. It seems to be now, you know, the boxing cards it's being put on that there's nobody's going to see them anymore.
Do you feel, Kent, that at the moment that there's kind of like people turning off from boxing? Do you feel that?
Absolutely. You know, you see it now in you know, when boxing's doing well, you see it in arenas, you see it in halls, you see it in the leisure centres where the cards are on. And now it just seems to be a bit of a drought in football and boxing. Number wise, you know, in Sky, DAZN, you know, they're in big trouble. So boxing, I think, now is going through a recession, you know, and it's going to take a couple of years before we come out of that recession and boxing. And I think it's all down to the promoters now. You know, it's all down to the
Rocky
big
Budjo. You hear him growling. Yeah, go on.
I think it's all down to the big promoters not working together and not putting the fights on. And if the fights that people want aren't happening, people are just going to tune off.
Yeah. Well, or do you think it's a generational thing, like that older age group are not going to shows? Because I've never known tickets like this at the moment. The people not
shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking. It's like it's now everything's up. Everything's up. You know, inflation is through the roof now. Gas, electric, oil, petrol, food. The cost of living now is really, really high. So you've got other sports. You know, football in the UK would be possibly the biggest thing now. And with football, you've got multiple football kits. So you look at sport in that respect, and really now you've got a subscription channel that is £8 a month, or you go and fork out 40 quid to go and see a fight. So does subscription boxing actually hurt boxing? I think so.
Well, look, when Bricktop had it at Box Nation for a tenner a month, nobody were interested, were they?
No.
So the way I look at it is this: they're going to have to revert back to pay-per-view, aren't they? DAZN, and then that means that Eddie's going to look a bit daft, isn't he?
Well, how many times the last couple of years has Eddie said stuff that he's went back on? So I wouldn't be surprised.
They push their own narrative, don't they? They just say, yeah, yesterday we're lying, today I'm telling the truth. They don't care for boxing fans, mate. They don't care for boxing fans at all.
Boxing at the minute is going through a massive recession, as I said. I think DAZN, Eddie, like, look at the fighters that Eddie has lost. You know, I heard something last week, and I heard Eddie saying that the kid Galahad for Eddie was bait for him to sign Navarrete. Navarrete is a free agent. That was his way of signing Navarrete and putting a big fight on in America to get himself back in the American network. And now that Barry has been knocked out by Martinez, that's just for a massive, massive spanner in the works for him. That relatively, I don't think it hurts Matchroom that Galahad did get knocked out, because he doesn't really bring any commercial value and he doesn't sell a ticket, but he was bait for possibly a Warrington fight or a Navarrete fight. So I think that has hurt Matchroom an awful lot down the line.
Yeah. All right, then let's get to the main fights on Eddie Hills. The 4-0 Iceman, 3 by way of show. Big punching 75% KO ratio from Eddie, amateur star, super heavyweight, Billy Ricky. Billy Ricky ABC, isn't that right, Eddie? Who were your fucking trainer and where did you fight at and where's fucking footage, lying bastard? Right. Steffi Bull, Terry Harper, has she been a protected fighter, yes or no?
Oops. There you go, Mr. Cordwell. Stop rubbing things out.
To be honest with you, Russell, she fought Natasha Jonas, you know, who's a big punching fighter. So has she been protected? Has she been well managed? Has she been well managed until that fight? Yes. I've seen an awful lot of footage before it, and she'd been doing a lot of strength and conditioning, a lot of training, and I did notice she'd done like nothing, no neck strengthening whatsoever.
How do you know that?
Because I seen the videos. There was a lot of videos of her doing a lot of S&C training and power training and jumping landing mechanics, power training, and there was nothing there for like neck strengthening at all. So to be honest with you, she's been off for close to a year with 2 bad hand injuries. If for me, like, if a female fighter's getting a lot of hand and bone breakages, you need to look at something like osteoporosis or down the line. You know, if that's happening, it's probably due to nutrition, like loss and lots of weight, lots of nutrients from the body. That's what happens when you've less nutrients in your body. But that's a different thing. But you look back at it, and I have never seen it just seemed to me, Russell, that the reaction of that big shot, I haven't seen a fighter react like that. It looked like a fighter who had been never hit before like that, and it was just a complete shock to the system. Personally, Russell, when a fighter at that level is getting hurt like that, and that reaction, that delayed reaction, I don't want to see her fight again.
You don't want to see Terry Harper fight again, Kent, now?
No, I don't, Russell. I don't. If that was my partner and she was getting in a ring and had that reaction to getting hit like that, I wouldn't want to see her fight again. No, definitely not.
Do you feel that she wants out then?
I don't think it's a thing that she wants out. I think it's she's earned, hopefully she's earned good money from boxing. Hopefully she's got a house and stuff. But the way she was hurt and the way her body reacted to that big puncher, I wouldn't want to see her in a ring again. I hope she goes and gets a scan. I think her health is more important than boxing. And it looked to me, Russell, that the enormity of the event was overshadowed, got to her. And you know, she was put in there with like, I didn't fancy Terry to win. I'd done a bit of research on Baumgardner, but before the fight, and she was I think that high guard, you know, she had that European British high guard, and I think when you've got someone who punches from chest level, it's really, really hard to fight someone like that and to be defensive with someone like that. But the punch resistance was really, really worrying, Russell. I think it just goes to show you that, you know, Natasha Jonas is a big puncher. This girl looks to be even stronger than that. You know, did the Natasha Jonas fight take a lot out of her? It looks like it, Russell.
Yeah. Do you feel that? How can I explain it? But it's a weight issue, though.
Russell, I don't want to hear this. You know, I'm sick of hearing. Why didn't they talk about that before the fight? You know, when someone loses now, it's a weight issue. If they've made the weight,
check weigh-ins, didn't she? She passed all check weigh-ins, so there were no red flags, were there?
If you're passing check weigh-ins and you're making the weight, I'm sick of fighters and managers, not fighters, but every time someone loses the fight now, it's always weight issues. You know, if you're making the weight and you're hitting check weight weigh-ins, it's not a weight issue. It's definitely not. You know, I think you need to take the responsibility and saying, listen, we're in against a big puncher. She get hurt and she get stopped by the better person. So what's the route back? I think it's terrifying that they're actually, you know, talking about an immediate rematch with her. I think it's absolutely shocking.
Yeah, but you've got to understand that they've signed, haven't they, for a rematch, and the way Eddie Hearn, and if they don't do an immediate rematch, he might fuck them off. He's got a long memory, Eddie, you know. They know that. They'll know that as well, you know, that they've got to fight that rematch. They will know that.
Does it look like Steffi and Terry have been punished for speaking to Sky in the summer about a Harper rematch, or it kind of looks like it, Russell, to be honest.
About you mean a bonus rematch?
Yeah.
Well, Steffi and Terry Harper spoke to Sky in summer, but then again, Eddie Hearn would probably turn around and say, "Yeah, go and speak to him. Go speak to it, whoever." So they're not doing nothing wrong. They're keeping their options open. Maybe they might have put him in with this big puncher because he's done that. I don't know. Eddie's quite vindictive, isn't he? He's a bit narcissistic, isn't he?
It kind of looks to me, Russell, that it looks like payback. To be quite honest with you, Russell, you know, it was Terry's first fight back in close to a year. It wasn't like it was all over the boxing media that she had to fight this girl and this date or get stripped. They could have brought someone else in there for the fight and hopefully look for the unification bout down the line with the WBA champion. So it kind of looks to me that it's payback. You know, it's like Eddie's like, well, if you want to go and speak to Sky, you're not Team Matchroom then. So it looks like it's been kind of like a punishment for them going to speak to Sky. That's what I see, to be quite honest. That's how Eddie.
Bellew wouldn't have done that, would he? Were he one of his fighters? He wouldn't have gone and spoke to somebody else. They wouldn't have dared, would they?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. It's either your Team Matchroom or you're not with Eddie.
Yeah, have you noticed when Dave Allen went and spoke to Warren about Dubois, that fight never happened, and he was sort of kind of like discarded as well, wasn't he? For even speaking to Warren, and Eddie said, "No, don't take that fight." And Dave Allen's only fought once on Matchroom since, and that was Darch, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a sickener. You know, that was career, that was life-changing money, and probably another couple of fights guaranteed a certain amount of money. So it was a really, really big long-term deal, and he just gets stiffed. But that's Eddie for you.
No, he didn't get stiffed. Dave Allen didn't get stiffed. He was told by Eddie to ask for X amount. And Darren Barker backed it up and said, yeah, ask for this much, they'll pay it. When Warren stood firm, Barker said, hey, you should retire now. Because he wouldn't have got, what's point in Barker training him 10% peanuts when he would have got 10% a lot of money. See that? So they don't care for Dave Allen.
No.
But Dave Allen should have used his brains and said, you know what? Let me get this Dubois fight, and then I'll over up some crumbs after a Warren and get out of it. Eddie Hearn's not paying his bills. Now, he's retired and he's having to go back to, and it looks like he's trying to hula hoop Eddie to get back in mix, and he'll be gutted about that, Dave.
Shocking.
He's never going to get that money offer again, is he? Dubois money again.
No chance. Absolutely no chance.
So it proves that Eddie Hearn is not right about everything, doesn't it?
Well, look at the stuff he's been saying the last couple of years. He hasn't delivered anything, really, has he?
Americans don't want to work with him, mate, do they? He's not delivered for Joshua. He's not got a signature win. Dylan White hasn't got a signature win. Who's Joshua's signature win? We've been sold a load of old crock. Where's his signature win? Vladimir, age 42.
No. Think about it. He made that comment when DAZN was launched that we're going to destroy the American pay-per-view market. Nice one, Eddie. You've just destroyed every potential business relationship you were going to have in America before it even started. So, yeah, it's just, I think the stuff I think Eddie comes across as this, I'm this big promoter. He's made a lot of mistakes this last couple of years, and look where he's at now. Look where he's at now, Russell.
Yeah, he's in no man's land at the moment, isn't he, really? All right, then, moving on from Terry Harper's loss by knockout to Boom Gardner. If she doesn't fight that girl next, where does she go?
It's hard to say because the unification fight isn't going to be there now with the WBA champion.
Okay.
How could you as a trainer or a manager or a promoter put your fighter in after that loss with somebody straight away again? How could you do that?
Couldn't do it, could you?
No, I couldn't.
Well, do you think they'll go back to Sheffield?
There's nobody at the fight, Russell. There was absolutely nobody at it. Who was the ticket seller at that bill?
Do you feel
Who
that
sold the tickets?
big ticket seller, James Flint?
There you go. There you go.
He were in an area fight, wasn't he? He was a big ticket seller on night.
Yeah. So how could they go back to Sheffield again after that?
All right then. Let's look at the Galahad situation. Where does he go now? He's got to rematch that guy because he'll win it fight comfortably when he just got caught, didn't he?
I actually think Russell, it could be a good thing for Eddie Hearn, really looking at it, because think about it. So Galahad doesn't sell any tickets whatsoever, none. So what they'll probably do now is, depending if Galahad wants the immediate rematch, if I was Eddie, what I would do is I would bring Kiko Martinez over to Leeds, or I would bring Josh Warrington over to Spain. I would match them together, and the winner fight Galahad and try and get some money back on it, because that's the only way that Eddie's going to get any money back on that. I was absolutely shocked about it. You know, we spoke about on the channel that how good, I think we fell. I think we had this mistake about Kid Galahad being this great fighter, and Terry's made a great point. And who's his signature win been on his career? Who's he fought to solidify that status as being number one in the division?
We haven't beat anybody really of note, has it? That all they're doing is they're putting themselves in that Ingle gym, and people talk about it like it's some Matrix sort of boxing style, but that style's now all that, in it.
Well, you look at what he was doing. So before the fight, I seen him doing body sparring pads. And when you're body sparring pads all the time, Galahad's style, he always looks like he's waiting to be hit back on the body.
You think he admires his work too much?
Well, so what I'm saying is, when he's in range, he always looks like, if he hits his opponent in a phase, he would always half step back, protecting his body. Because he's doing that much of that body sparring, he's always protecting the body to be hit back from the body, and from his shoulder to head is always like unprotected. And it's like he's crouched in protecting his body, but his head's in the air. And Kiko just spotted that right away. Kiko was timing that. They have been timing that. That was the shot. You know, if they get through the first 3 or 4 rounds, you know, think about it. You know, you go back and you look at Kiko Martinez against Leo Santa Cruz. You know, he caught Santa Cruz with the same shot and dropped him, and it wasn't ruled a knockdown. It wasn't lockdown. So they were timing that, and it was only a matter of time. Like, I didn't notice it before that. You know, I'd been saying that, you know, you would fancy him against anyone, but I've watched that fight 3 or 4 times after, and I've just noticed that style and all that body sparring with pads. I think it just opens up a completely different movement pattern to protecting yourself in a different way. And we always talk about stylist. It didn't work in, did it?
No, it didn't. I'm wondering what's going to happen now to little Barry from Sheffield.
Well, to be honest with you, you know, he doesn't sell tickets and he doesn't get views. So it's been a disaster for them, and it means whatever money he's been on now, it's going to be a lot less in the next fight. with the IBF, I don't know what they'll do. I don't even know if there has been a rematch clause, because it was a voluntary defence. So I'm not sure if there actually is a rematch clause or options.
There is a rematch, yeah. There is a rematch, yeah. But Eddie Hearn came out and he said, I didn't expect Kiko Martinez to win 1 round in that fight, never mind 2, because he won 5th and 6th, didn't he, obviously. But for Eddie to come out and say that, well, why is he headlining in a fight in Sheffield if you didn't expect him to win 1 round? Why is he in a headline fight? And why is there a rematch?
Exactly. You know, it was that Eddie was putting all, Eddie was basically said that then the unification fight with Navarrete was going to be next. It was an easy fight to make. Navarrete was a free agent, and it was his way of getting back into America and putting something on big in America or Mexico and that Hispanic market. And now that's been through. That's a spanner in the works. That's just hurt that. So it was kind of bait. They were looking just to get him through a defense and get him to America for unification. And I think it was just looking down the ratings and trying to find somebody that in the IBF that they could beat to bring over to America. You know, look at Kiko's career. Kiko has had an amazing career. You know, I think he came to prominence when he fought Bernard Dunn down in National Stadium at a Brian Peters show, and he knocked him clean out in the first round. You know, 4 fights later, Bernard Dunn went and won a WBA title. You know, he's come back from numerous losses. Like, he lost to Rendell Monroe twice, Carl Frampton twice.
Yeah, but one of the Rendell Monroe fights, you could say, well, you know,
it's a tight fight.
Yeah.
You know, he's lost to Scott Quigg. He's lost to Leo Santa Cruz. He's lost to Gary Russell Jr. He had that close fight with Zelfa. It's unbelievable. Regardless of what it says, you know, yeah, he did lose most of the rounds, but it doesn't say that on his record.
You'd have to say that Zelfa Barrett's got to be mixed for a shot now, hasn't he? Surely.
Absolutely, because, you know, regardless, it could have went, the Zelfa Barrett fight could have went either way, and Zelfa give Kiko a better fight than Kid Galahad, you know.
Yeah. What about Kid Galahad, Zelfa Barrett?
Why not? It's obviously a fight. You know, you could call for it now. You could say that fight would make more sense.
Well, why not?
I think why not? Absolutely, why not?
I mean, Galahad, he might be a bit fragile. Galahad, now he's been put into orbit, and Zelfa Barrett can punch like a mule.
The knockout Russell was like he just walked over and he let him have it. 1 punch knockout. It was like a walk-off knockout. I've never seen anything like it, to be honest. It was a really, really brutal finish.
What about Flex's performance in the corner? It looked like chaos when the pressure were on at end at 5th, didn't it?
Well, I've never had that before in that corner with Barry. Anyone. And the way they reacted, it was I'm not going to blame them too much for it, because obviously they were in an absolute state of shock. If I'd have been watching it live, I would have been in absolute shock, because you said they brought Kiko over. He was 35. He's 8 losses in his record. So he was brought over as cannon fodder, and never in a million
more than
years.
8 losses, didn't he? Didn't he have more than 8 losses?
I think he's 8 losses, Russell. I think he's 8 losses.
All right.
But you would be in shock. I'm not going to get too hard on Flex, because if you were in the corner yourself, Russell, you would have been in absolute shock at that.
I would have cut his gloves, me, to bide some time or something. I would have done something
Yeah,
to buy him another 20 seconds or something. And obviously, you've
because
got cameras and microphones around you, but so what? You've got to protect
hey,
the fighter.
even take the gum shield out and drop it in the ground. You know,
Like
drop it in the
Joshua does
corner
when he gets punched, when he's in trouble.
before he come out. You know, so they need to rinse the gum shield and rinse the hands. But I think you could have given Kid Galahad another minute, and he still wouldn't have recovered from that. He would have been still hurt by it.
He'll have not slept since Friday night in Kid Galahad. He'll be sat up every night, be going over and over and over in his mind. And if Eddie Hearn tries to dick him about with that rematch and shaft them, they've got to stick to the guns. But if they've signed a long-term deal with Eddie, then that could cost. Who else is going to want to take Galahad on? Don't do tickets, horrible style. He's rubbed people up the wrong way. Who's going to want to take him back on? He can't go back to Mick Hennessy, not got a prayer. Warren won't want to take him on because how's he going to pay him if he don't do tickets? So Eddie's only game in town. Eddie will know this. So he'll dick him about Eddie if he don't want to go back to Sheffield. And Warrington, what good is he to Warrington? Warrington don't want to fight him because his style's horrible. They don't gel well. So, and he ain't got no to bring to the table to fight Warrington. So Kid Galahad, really, technically, he is in limbo, mate. Limbo.
Big trouble, Russell. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the fight's in Spain. Kiko's defense is in Spain.
I mean,
he's been talking about the Spanish market now. You've got Sergio Martinez, who's undefeated. You've got Salvatore, the guy who beat Mikey Garcia last week. You've got Kiko now. Spanish market, you could sell on the Spanish market a show over there. Yeah. And if you brought Josh Warrington over, you know, that would be a big card. That would get the money back that they've lost on Kid Galahad being the IBF world champion.
Do you think that Kell Brook will be turning around to Barry and be saying, "Don't worry, Babby, I'll get the undercard when I fight Amir Khan"?
Sick of hearing about it, Russell. Don't want to hear about it anymore.
Why is it every time we've got a Galahad fight or somebody from up there, they seem to wheel the Kell Brook Khan fight out? I mean, it's all that now, isn't it?
I'm sick of hearing about it. Honestly, I don't even want to talk about it. It's that irrelevant now. You know.
Do you feel Eddie disrespected Kell Brook though by dissing that fight because they were at one point he were going up to have meetings with Brook family and that's all they were talking about for years. And now Eddie's going around saying it's a dog with fleas.
Well, the only reason he's
poetic justice, isn't it?
The only reason he's saying that is because the fight wasn't going to be in the zone. That's why. Yeah. That's why. Like Amir Khan comes with a price. You know, people are still going to tune in to watch Khan. He still has a hefty, you know, value and price wise. And on the zone money, with what they're doing there, that was never going to happen. That was never going to be achievable. So the only way that fight would happen if it was on Boxer and Sky. So it's just sour grapes for Matty, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. It's not good. All right then. Tyson Fury, Dylan White. You've probably heard the WBC dicking Dylan White around. Dylan White's actually took legal action, but I've been screaming for that for 3 years, haven't I, mate? For him to take legal action. It looks like he's took legal action against WBC, and it looks like they're now punishing him, aren't they? They're giving Fury a 9-month reprieve, so Fury can go walkabout now and have a break, can't he, and do what he wants. Explore opportunities.
That was always going to happen, Russell.
Well, I said it happened, didn't I? He can't do it. Yeah. Fury can't fight twice a year. Can't do it. It's too much for him. He's got about 100 kids, doesn't he? And he likes to have time to himself. So he can't do that with a big family and the other commitments. And everybody knows that. So I said he's going to dick White around. It looks like White's now begging for a fight, but he's got rid of Walling. So where does White go now? Hey.
Think about it, Russell. So Nevada State have give Fury a suspension because he was knocked down heavily in that fight. That suspension will mean that he's not even allowed to spar in the gym.
Yeah.
So how can he go into camp to fight in March, April? Not going to happen. Anybody that knows anything about boxing knows that fight was not going to happen. Where does Dillian Whyte go? Dillian Whyte will just sit it out.
Dillian Whyte, he's a millionaire, but his CV's piss poor. He ain't got a European title on there.
He will have to sit it out now. And it looks like it, you know, even like the fighters, like I blame the Emmons because they went down the WBC route. So Dillian Whyte 4 years ago beat Robert Helenius, right? Now Helenius is in the rankings in the WBA top 4, and they're talking about Helenius fighting for the WBA title next.
The regular.
So the regular, yeah. So they've went down one route and they've got themselves to blame. Instead of going down all avenues and looking an opportunity with IBF, WBO or WBA, they put all their eggs in one basket and they've only themselves to blame, Russell.
Yeah, and Dillian Whyte now is in limbo, really, isn't it? And do you think that the WBC and Eamon and all them, and Warren and Aram and all them, have all got their heads together and they said, right, fuck Dillian Whyte and Eddie Hearn. And Dillian Whyte's now in a situation where he's got to be looking to himself and saying, I might need to fuck Eddie Hearn off.
Well, Frank Warren said it last week, Russell, that, you know, the best way for him, you know, Frank let it slip cryptically. The best way for him to get a world title fight is if he's a free agent.
Well, he is a free agent, technically. He's no deal.
Technically.
But they don't leave, you see. He's like Dave Allen. What happens is, and people in boxing industry know this, once you start working with Eddie Hearn and become a regular, he more or less ingrains it in you that if you go anywhere else, you're fucked. Dave Allen wanted to fight the bar, wanted to so much. And he even said on his social media, I'm just letting you know, Eddie, this is what's been said between me and Frank. I went to his show last night with my mates, blah, 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 probably shitting his pants, thinking that he'd get pissed off. And Eddie was saying, oh, yeah, ask for this much, ask for that, blah, blah, blah. But deep down, Eddie would have been thinking, fucking hell, yeah, going and speaking to them fuckers because the hatred's that bad. And it's like that with Whyte. He sort of moans about being with Eddie and not getting his opportunity. Well, fucking leave him then. Grow some spine, you thick bastard. Leave Eddie Hearn then, and your opportunities will come. Because you're backed into a corner now where you've got no fight, you haven't got a European title shot, you've never fought for a world, you've knocked a world title fight back. And I don't believe that were all he's doing either. I believe that Hearn had something to do with that. I mean, what sort of man in his right mind who's beat somebody in amateurs, lost to him in pro, and they get a deciding fight, 90,000 Wembley, minimum 5 million, upside could have been up to plus 6 or 7. What sort of fighter knocks that back with a fellow London southern area kid, whatever, down there? Him and Joshua fighting at Wembley. It's unheard of. It's unprecedented or whatever word is. So sun blasting into my eyes here. I can't get up, can I? Hardly, so I can't put my pillow here. But what's that say on your hat? What's it say?
War Chisora.
Fucking hell, Kent. You are hardcore, aren't you? Is that crumb pajamas or a t-shirt?
T-shirt.
You do pajamas now, Kent, you know.
Seen them? I don't wear pajamas, sorry.
But you fucking commando style, Kent. Come on, man. Pole vaulting into bed.
Oh, mad. But as a business decision, Russell, it was, I've never heard of anything like that. It was a massive feeling on the management team to do that. Potentially over £5.5 million. like
Yeah,
is
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy.
and I don't believe that were all him. I believe that they thought Joshua White had caught him. I mean, I believe that as well. I believe Dylan White's more or less caught up to Joshua now. You know where they're at in the careers. You know, ability wise, and but he should have took that opportunity because Andy Ruiz took it and put him into orbit, didn't he?
Absolutely, Russell. You know, it you're looking back on it and you look where their careers have went from that. And, you know, Dillian White's still in Coventry with the WBC. The WBC don't want Dillian White. You know, I was on WBC website last night, and the first thing when you click into the WBC website, they've got a big massive thumbnail of Tyson Fury with their title wrapped around his waist. And you know what, their brand, WBC's brand now, is based around Tyson Fury.
Yeah,
he is the figurehead of their brand.
yeah.
You know, so why on earth is Dillian White even trying to get that? If I was Dillian White right now, see that interim belt he's got, I would throw it in the bin.
Not I mean he's mandatory, you know.
I would throw that interim belt in the bin and just say, you know what, I'm going down a different avenue. Think about it now, Russell. Huey is number 4 in the WBA. Robert Helenius and Huey are top 4 in the WBA rankings.
Go on, Huey.
They're top 4. So you've got Dubois, you've got Hughie Fury, and you've got Robert Helenius, all in the top 4 WBA. So those lads are actually in a better position than Dillian White at the minute for a title shot.
Yeah. Yeah, they are, mate. It's madness, isn't it? Utter madness. And another thing as well, right? Do we seriously think that Dillian White had beat Fury?
Tyson Fury? No.
I don't. So,
no.
And another thing as well, do you remember when I put that video out a bit back when Dillian White and all these Dillian White cronies, like sporting icons, who he don't put Dillian White's intro on his videos no more, does he?
No.
Or sporting icons, now that Eddie Hearn's dropped him. Well, this is how I look at it, right? Sporting, you were hanging out the back of Dillian White, hula hooping him, that far up his arsehole, you were eating his food for him. Now look, point I want to make is that people in boxing, Mr. Sporting, they fall out. But you went out to bat for Dillian White, and where are you now? Why aren't you defending Dillian White now? Well, let me just say this, sporting icons, you were going on about Dillian White being mandatory for a year and being dicked about. He's never been WBC mandatory for one fucking day. Get a grip of yourself. Do you remember the video I put out where I proved that 1,000 days they kept saying?
Yeah.
And it was Ruiz Ortiz or Ortiz Ruiz, and White were third, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He were never mandatory, and none of them were mandatory. So stop going on about this 1,000-day mandatory shit, Dillian White. And now they're even spouting, oh, I've been 4 years, I've been waiting. See how they keep fudging the numbers all the time, Matchroom, and you throw enough fucking lies and shit at the wall and mud sticks, doesn't it? Keep going on, yeah, 4 years we've been waiting for our title shot. This is a fucking joke. It's a liberty. He's never been mandatory. Get over your fucking selves with your lies, you shithouses at Matchroom. And Dillian White, stop lying, mate. You've had ample opportunity to fight for a world title and European, and you've never took it. You wanted to fight C-class guys. Fucking lies. They fucking burn my head out with it. It's wrong, you know. It says, mate, it's wrong. The shit they've been coming out with is unbelievable. But okay, then we'll finish off on YouTubers. Are they asking the right questions? I noticed that Umar's been getting brave with his questions lately. He's been impressing me. But
Umar's really good. I really like Umar.
Yeah, he always asks the ones that Coogan don't ask, doesn't he?
I like Umar. He's
Hogan never
brilliant.
asks them questions, does he? That Umar asks. So I just feel that the rest of them should follow. Rob Tebbert seems to ask good questions, and then once he gets them on hook, he fills his nappy, doesn't he? If he senses a change in the mood, and I just want to see proper questions asked. That's all. It's not a lot to ask, is it? Do you know what I mean? Why can't Eddie Hearn fucking put Dylan White in with somebody with a heartbeat? You know what I mean? Ergovic, why can't they put him in with him? Why can't they make a fight with Frank Warren and put Joe Joyce in with him? Why don't they just say, listen, forget these fucking belts. Let's just get these heavyweights at it. Why can't Eddie Hearn and Frank get their heads together and put a tournament together at 175? Because I know Frank's up for it, and you could get 8 guys from UK and have a fantastic tournament and a Muhammad Ali trophy or a Joe Fraser trophy or whatever. Just give them fucking a box of milk tray or something. But what I want to make is belts don't mean fuck all to fans. Let's just have the fucking price because it's dying on its arse. I've got statistics to prove it.
Well, think about it, Russell. There was 2 world title fights on in Sheffield at the weekend, and the stadium was empty.
Empty. And a European and an area title. And if Steffi Bull hadn't put James Flint on that show, it would have been fucked. It would have been fucked.
Nobody.
It would have been
nobody.
It would have been knackered, mate. So it's going to be interesting to see what's happening moving forward. But if it means the end of Eddie Hearn, fucking good help he fucks off out of boxing. Don't like him. But I'm not going to be one of them people that pats him on fucking back and then says, yeah, fuck him. I'm going to say in front of the camera, I don't like the cunt. I think he's dipped his bread in British boxing for over 10 years now. They've rinsed it and the cupboards are bare now. There's no food. And we're left to pick up the fucking pieces. Frank Warren said this years ago and everybody laughed. He fucking knew. Just like his father when he had Chris Eubank. They milked it and milked it and milked it. 19 WBO wins. Only 4 of them were any good. Other 15 because there were no box back then. It was shite. And he got out of boxing once. Collins smashed him up. And he got out of boxing. Then Eubank went to Frank Warren with begging bowl, and Frank set Carl Zaggy and Carl Thompson on him twice. Am I right?
Yeah.
So Eubank's 5 losses were all against Frank Warren lads, weren't they?
They had that disastrous world tour at that stage that
didn't go anywhere. Africa, Wales, and Scotland. Fucking hell, that was a great world tour, that wasn't it? Fucking hell. I wouldn't like to think how Thomas Cook selling holidays as a world fucking tour, Wales, South Africa, and Scotland. Do you know what I mean? That was it. That were Chris Eubank's world tour. Didn't he go to Egypt or somewhere, Cairo? Went to Cairo, didn't he? But Barry Hearn didn't want no to do with that show, did he? Chris Eubank put the money up for the show and did his conkers in, didn't he? Accountant by name, accountant by nature. His own promoter didn't even want to back him in a Cairo show. Hey, what is all that about?
And he fought in Germany against Roccagiani, and he fought over here against Ray Close. And
Ray Close were robbed against him. He should have been disqualified in that fight.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah, twice. Ray Close can count himself. Very, very unlucky man. Very good fighter, Ray Close as well.
Ray Close was a brilliant fighter. Ray Close was from Ledley Hall Boxing Club in East Belfast.
Is that near you?
And no, he's the other side of the lagoon. But he went on and won a European title in Italy. He won a European title in Italy. That's at that stage, you know, going to Germany or Italy to win a title is a big thing. So Ray Close was an absolutely brilliant fighter.
Yeah. Okie dokie then, Ken. Well, listen, we've had a good chat. Do you want this out today, or do you want me to get Cameron to stick an intro and an ending on it and put it out tomorrow? Do you want it jazzing up, Kent?
Many videos you putting out today then?
I'm going to do 4 today, but I don't know if I'm going to put them all out because you can give them too much and then it's overload, doesn't it? I want to spread the next 11 out over the next 14 days.
Many videos you're putting out tomorrow?
None, because I'm at hospital tomorrow and then I've got Matt,
Put this out tomorrow then.
all right then. Well, I'll send it to Cameron now. Then, in fact, all videos I do today, I'll send them him, and he can jazz them up with Porky intro and ending. And we'll put Dave Caldwell little videos in at the beginning just for a bit of banter. Evening, Dave. I'm a fucker, aren't I? He's a fucker, is Tucker.
You're relentless. You're
Yeah,
relentless,
well,
Russell.
I mean, all I'm asking for is, people to back the channel, share the videos and subscribe, and people are doing it. We're not breaking into mainstream, but I've got all the fucking attention, and so that's all I wanted. I only wanted boxing people's attention. I don't get too fucked about casuals.
Yeah, the viewership's been good. The numbers are brilliant.
Yeah.
Subscription, fair play to everyone who's joined the members area. Hopefully I'll do a couple of members videos for you next week as well, just to bring out some content. And it's good to see everyone tuning in to the channel.
Yeah, well, all them people who cancelled the subscriptions on members, we've got them all back except 4. And that's only took me 2 weeks, so that's good, isn't it, kid?
That's brilliant.
Back with a vengeance. I just can't wait to get out of here, mate, and get back up to office. And do you know what I mean? Just be able to sit up straight in a chair without crying like a bitch.
Well, not take long. Your recovery the last 3-4 weeks has been great. So just be patient. Just be patient.
Considering our left door.
Think long term, not short term.
I had a flashback last night, that I was stuck in Turkey with all these staples in my stomach. And I was running down the street with my drip, carrying drip. And I was running really quick, barefoot. My feet were dirty as fuck. And all I could hear was that, that music. I mean, I don't know if this was racist or not, but I'm going to say it anyway. When I was there, you've got that praying music, like, like that all time, mate. And you know what? It was driving me mad. And I swear to God, when my eyes opened, it was about 4 a.m. I was saturated, mate. It was like being in the middle of a nightmare.
Well, here we are, Manchester Airport, Terminal 2. Let's see if they're going to let me on the plane. Turkey, here we come, Cosmetic Beach. This should be fun, shouldn't it? Porky going through terminals and customs.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
People were emailing me saying, Porky's nightmare. And you know what? It was a nightmare, mate. And you know what? I didn't think I was going to get out of that country, mate. And you know, when eventually I did get out there, I shouldn't have left, I was supposed to stay another couple of weeks. I went against doctor's orders. And, to get in that country, they don't even check you. To get out of there, I've never seen checks like it in my life. They're swabbing every part of your body. They're stripping you off and all that. I'm having to take my trainers off and do this and do that and let them rub down me and all that. That's how my staples burst, because they rub down you and they're heavy-handed and they're making me bend over and stains were coming through on my top and that. And I thought, God, I'm going to end up dead here. Like I said, when I was on plane and my stomach swelled and staples were popping, I thought, oh, can help, Porky. That might not have been a good move leaving Turkey. But do you know what, mate? I just had to get out there because it ain't for me over there. It ain't for me. It won't. Well, I thought it was until I took it, but it ain't for me. The best thing about it was Cosmetic Beach treated me brilliant and that hotel and that. But you're alone, you're vulnerable, no phone and that. And I swear to God, mate, that how I got through that, mate, I don't know. But that dream I had,
crazy.
That dream, I swear to God, mate, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. Even my dog was sat up and he was looking at it when I got up. So he must have known. I must have been, I don't know. I just keep having flashbacks to being over there.
You're dead.
Yeah, I just keep having these horrible flashbacks.
Chaos.
Being lonely and on my own, eh?
It was absolute chaos, Russell. It couldn't have got any worse.
And the best thing about it is, and I'm going to see if I can find this video now. I've got a video that I filmed this then, just going into airport at Manchester. And I said, well, here I am at Manchester Airport. I'm on my way to Turkey. What can happen? Fucking hell, well, it did, didn't it? I just can't get it out. It's an experience that I will never, ever, ever, ever forget.
How could you forget that weekend? It was absolute chaos. It's you all over. Yeah, it's just you all over.
I know
Isn't
I had
it?
to take it to extreme, you know. It's like when I used to take drugs, I just couldn't have one line. I had to take it till my nose were caving in.
Mad. Mad.
So, right then, Ken, thanks for coming on. You've been a real addition to the Porky Express. All right. So, all you ladies out there, keep them emails coming. porkycorner@mail.com. Kent is here. GQ Man of the Year. Remember that. Kent is here. GQ Man of the Year. All right.
Brilliant.
You take care, Kent. Peace out.
Take care, Russell. Take care.